Good day, this is the Professor, CBMD PhD. It's today Saturday, March 14, 2026. It is 4:54 and 19 seconds, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today, I'm going to be telling a story about my adolescence. So let's hop to it here. In the year 1991, I had powerful creative visions, innovations, and inventions that drove my ambitions towards my intellectual future. My visions were the monumental memories of the beginning of my adolescent lifestyle. My favorite scientific topics were lasers, hologram engineering, mathematics, physics, and component-level electronics. I originally had a laser and hologram laboratory in my parents' basement and enjoyed renting books from the North Bay Public Library. I had the motive to further my intuitive investigations and scientific endeavors. I found myself learning and taking notes on laser parameters, intensity, and duration of hologram film exposure. As a curious youngster, you would often find me in libraries, especially in the audiovisual department, searching for answers. I also had a tremendous amount of imagination when I was young, and loved spending hours in my room, drawing and creating schematic designs for my imaginative inventions. My parents often found me getting into trouble and stealing from garbage bins, curbside trash, and scrap yards. Scrapping industrial electric and electronic heavy-duty power transformers, electronic rubbish, and industrial circuit boards. I found myself in trouble stealing anything I could get my hands on, which I thought might be interesting to take apart or utilize for my basement laboratory, as I was super visual and wanted things for testing, building, and experimentation. In my later years and scientific adventures, I had turned my parents' basement into a laboratory scrapyard, which made both Mom and Dad very upset. My dad found out I was stealing and brought everything back to the original owners. I was upset with my parents and found myself in arguments and fights with them. When I was around 16 years old, I told my mom that I was going out to a party with one of my buddies, a group of guys, and a few girls. When I arrived at the party, we all sat around a circle, and my buddy tried to get me to smoke marijuana, so I said what the hell and took a puff. But I did it out of anger and rebellion against my parents. And then one of my other buddies forced me to drink almost 2.5 cups of pure vodka, and he wanted me to drink more, but I refused and said no. I was thinking that could be dangerous, and I did not want to harm myself. Later in the night I was feeling pretty dizzy and fell asleep at my buddy's house. Much more, I woke up still intoxicated, decided to go back to my parents' house, and started fighting with them, throwing furniture around. Then shortly afterwards my dad called the police and had me locked up in the psychiatric hospital. I was cooperative with the police, as they had me shackled in cuffs, then cruised me to the North Bay Psychiatric Hospital. When I got to the hospital, the nurses ordered me to stay for a 72-hour assessment. I was calm, cool, and collective, and told them I was fine and wanted to go back home. The nurses quickly and abruptly told me that if I did not take the psychiatric drugs they were trying to force me to take, that I would need to be forced into seclusion and forced to take the pills. I had repeatedly told staff that I was fine and just wanted to go back home with my parents. After a few days, they had like 6 staff members that were very aggressive and barbaric with me, abruptly forced me into seclusion, smashed my head into a pillow so I could not breathe, and hit me with a psychiatric tranquilizer. Shortly the next day, they let me out of seclusion. I was stiff, and my neck started to involuntarily twist, and then I could not move. I told the nurse I could not move, and she told me to go to my bedside. The nurse gave me a needle of cogentin. I quickly fell asleep and woke up dizzy and lethargic the next day, but could move fine. The only thing is, I felt a sharp nerve pain to my neck to my head. Furthermore, I think the psychiatric drugs they forced me to take made me very sick, then on afterwards. There was no detox, no cleanse, no recovery, no intervention, no prevention, no education, or any alternative solutions to undergo therapy for my family problems. It was simply forcible confinement, lying to my family members, and falsely diagnosing me with schizophrenia, and forcibly drugging me against my will, which made me feel like crap. It has been the same cycle for 30 years now. Hospital lockups against my will, forcible confinement, forcibly drugging me, damaging my reputation, which cost me my liberty, my freedoms, and my life. I only tried marijuana once in my life, had not done any drugs, and do not have a remote history of substance abuse. I had not drank alcohol, had not smoked cigarettes in my entire lifetime. In fact, I'm against mood-altering substances and study toxicology. The hospital's allegations are completely false, with not one shred of credible evidence to prove that I had a remote history of substance or mental illness. And for heaven's sake, I'm going on 50 years old. I never even smoked a cigarette in my entire lifetime. I had not even drank pop or soda. Sodas or pop is loaded and contaminated with benzene, xylene, toluene with alcohol, microplastics, aluminium, artificial additives, caramel colorings, and dyes. Pop is just nasty, and there is no benefits. And for heaven's sake, I had not even drank coffee or tea in my entire lifetime, as coffee will dehydrate you and is polluted with benzalkonium, solvents, and acetone, which lowers IQ. In fact, coffee and tea damages the body, leading to premature aging, superficially elevated heart rate, sleep disorders, migraine headaches, and plaqued teeth. There is simply no benefits to coffee or tea. Overall, throughout my introspection and chapter on adolescence, you can typically see that I was obviously an innocent child with a lot of ambition, dreams, and hope for the future. In my perspective, healthcare professionals can be self-centered, selfish, and only care about money, especially when gambling vulnerable children's lives for the sake of their future. We need more education to encourage and help children increase their intellectual potentials, lengthen their life expectancy, not the other way around. And you know what I mean. Thank you so much for listening to my autobiography. My story was written by me. My code name is Will. I'm Professor Christopher Brunet, leader of research, scientist, ufologist, psychic, computer technician, computer programmer, philanthropist, writer, mathematician, artist, photographer, film producer, chef, animal, and nature lover. My passion is world peace. Have a great day. Good day. This